Hi everyone, welcome along to a video about the curly girl method. Apologies for this. I've literally just got out of the shower about 10 minutes ago. So this is my t-shirt turban, which I'm going to chat about in a minute. And I'm yet to do my makeup and all the rest of it. But I just wanted to actually just go through the very basics of what you're going to need to do for the curly girl method. I thought I could sit and do a really long intro video and explain it all, and I thought, oh god, no, break it down a little bit, because actually I found sometimes when I was watching other girls, ladies doing their videos, I was a bit bogged down by it all. So some will be longer than others. What I want to do is go through product at the moment. I've got a little while whilst I'm just waiting for this to, well, not set as such, but just wait for the moisture and everything to happen. So, girls, when you start on the curly girl method, you're going to have to do a wash that's going to take out the silicone that's in your hair. Silicone is found in regular, everyday conditioners, and it's something that you do not want to be using if you're going on the curly girl method. Just like in shampoos, there are things like sulfates and parabens, which also you want to avoid. There is a whole list of ingredients that actually you shouldn't be putting in your hair. I will do a separate video which is a bit more scientific about all the ingredients that you need to avoid and things that you can use, along with figuring out your hair type and what kind of curl or wave you think you have. Bits and pieces like that. I'll do that separately. Anyway, you need to, on a first wash, get rid of the silicone, and the only thing that's going to shift that silicone is the sulfate that you find in normal regular shampoo. So day one, go and just wash your hair normally with your normal shampoo that you've been using for yonks. Obviously, if you've been using one that didn't have sulfates in anyway, you need to get one that's got sulfates in. But yeah, sulfate shampoo, wash as you would normally, rinse out. That will then have shifted all of the silicone, hopefully, out of your hair. I would then advise that you put a bit of a deep condition on. If you're like me and you've been straightening for years and hair drying for years, so your hair's had a lot of heat abuse and is damaged, and that's part of the reason why you're wanting to do the curly girl, I would get a deep condition or a hair mask on at this point. Now, I have one, which I'm going to share with you now, which is this. It's lovely. And as you can see, it's really good for transitioning hair, which is what mine's going to be. I use that, after my last sulfate shampoo. And I pop this on. There is no silicone in it or any other nasty things. You can leave this one on and for up to half an hour if you want to. I popped this on for about 10 minutes and it really made such a difference to my hair. It just did it the world of good. So I would recommend doing that first time round. Give your hair a bit of a nice treatment. I never know whether this is pronounced Shea or Shea or She. Let's say Shea. I have no idea. But it's got raw shea butter in it. And it's also got sea kelp and argan oil. Really nice, good things to treat your hair. It will give it a nice kind of. It'll. What's the word for putting moisture back into your hair? Remoisten? No idea. Anyway, it will. There we go. Rehydrate. That's the word I was looking for. God almighty. Enrich, and it will also protect. Don't have to use this one. This brand has lots of hair masks, so whatever you think your hair will benefit from, do. Here in the UK, I got this in Boots. I dare say you can probably get it in Superdrug and various other well-known high street chemists and pharmacists. Have a hunt around. I've also seen that some of the girls in America, I think, have been using this, so I think it's pretty widely available. Or if you go online, Amazon. Put that down. That's day one. After I had put that in, left it in for 10 minutes, I let my hair dry naturally. No more heat. When you're on the curly girl method, you need to avoid heat like the plague. You're not going to be using your straighteners or your curling tongs anymore. You need to avoid a hairdryer, although I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Heat free. Oh, something's just come up on my screen. I apologise. I don't have a, oh, I can't see anything. Oh, there we go. Oh, you're back. I don't have a flashy camera, and at this point I don't know how many of these I'm going to do, if it's going to end well, so oh god, I've got things coming up everywhere. Go away. Bloody computers, I hate I don't have a flashy camera. Well, I do actually, but I don't have all the kit to set it up and do that. So at the moment, I'm just filming these on my MacBook and my iPhone, cheap and cheerful, and we'll just see how they go. Likewise, I don't have a flashy studio like a lot of these girls make up at home with hanging sheets up in a room and lighting. I'm just sat on my bed at the moment, keeping it real. This is realistically the life of a proper 30-something singleton. No kids, it's pretty quiet. No husband or boyfriend, singleton, very quiet. So at least I have that. Again, if this gets serious, maybe I'll create a nice pretty corner somewhere in the house. So that's day 1. Leave your hair to dry naturally. Day 2, or technically probably the first proper day on the curly girl method, you're going to start with your new products. So I am using at the moment Umberto G. How do you pronounce it? Giannini. Giannini. There we go. Giannini. I have no idea. I'm not Italian. Maybe he isn't either. Maybe I just digging a hole here. This is really lovely product, shampoo. And indeed, everything I'm using is by the same range at the moment. I'm not mixing it up too much at this stage. I'm also not putting tons of stuff in my hair. Don't overcomplicate it by putting a ton of product in. I should also say this is completely unsponsored. I mean, I've just started this a week ago. But just so far, this is what I'm using to start off with. I may experiment with some other ones. I'll just see how it goes. So this is 100% sulfate free. Yay. And it's got all sorts of other bits and pieces in it. But if you look on the back, so one thing you might need to learn how to do is read ingredients properly in shampoos. Once you figure out, and once I've told you in my own separate video, what you need to avoid, it's actually not too difficult. It's a bit like reading on the back of a packet of food, I suppose, if you want to avoid stuff and if you're happy to have it in your hair. So you're going to pop some shampoo, some of this in your hair. Don't go too nuts. Sort of pound-sized blob here. Wash it in. Massage it into your scalp only. You don't need to wash it into the rest of your hair. Just massage it into the scalp. Be a bit vigorous with it. You want to get all the dirt and the grease out of there. Pop that through, and then as you rinse it, it will wash the rest of your hair. Okay, so do this. I would suggest day 1. You're then going to pop some conditioner in. Here we go, same brand. This is silicone free. Up until quite recently, this brand and this shampoo still had a little bit of silicone in it. So for anyone that wants to have a comment and go, oh, there's silicone in that. No, there isn't. It's silicone free now. They revised the ingredients that they were popping in there. Okay, so this is perfectly fine to use. Again, a fairly healthy blob here. Put through, well, you don't need to put it from the scalp really, but put it through the ends. At this point, I usually comb my hair. Now, on the curly girl method, you need to avoid your hairbrush like the plague if you can. What they advise you to do is put your fingers through, which I did try, but I find it hard to define my parting, just trying to fiddle about with my fingers, and probably shouldn't matter if I had really curly hair, but I don't at this point. So I use a wide tooth comb, wide-ish tooth comb. You can get a wider one than that. I wouldn't get anything smaller. I just happen to have this already and I didn't want to have to go out and get another one. This works quite well for me. I know some girls use one that have wider gaps between the teeth, but yeah, this is what I'm using. It's a nice cheap. I got it from H&M. You can get these all over the place. So I don't put it all the way through. I just go across the top, find my parting, split, chuck. And then you're going to start to do the scrunching method with the conditioner in, okay? So you're going to go scrunch, squidge, scrunch, squidge. Squidge the condish. There you go. Scrunch. Don't go too nuts doing it, but do it a few times. If you want to leave it in for a few minutes, do, and then rinse it out. Then turn your shower off. Now, the next bit you can do when you're still in the shower if you want to, or you can step out, wrap a towel around your body, nothing on your head. But the key is that you need to put your next ingredient in your hair whilst it's still wet. Some girls I've seen suggest that you put it in with dripping wet hair. I disagree. What I tend to do is, at this point, I just squeeze excess water out of my hair. It's still very wet, don't get me wrong, but get rid of all the excess water out. You don't need it in your hair for this stage. And you're next going to put in something along the lines of this. This is a curling gel. It's known as scrunching jelly from this brand. Now, there are different things you can use. You can use a curling gel, you can use a curling cream. You may even want to use a curling mousse, or some brands have bought something out called curling custard, which is basically a cream. I'm using gel at the moment, not cream, and actually this has been pretty darn good. So, you're going to put a fairly healthy sized blob of this in your hand, and you may want to come back for more. Obviously, the more hair you've got, the more product you're going to need. My hair, sort of shoulder length at the moment. Pop a blob in, rub your hands together, and then you're going to do the praying method. You're going to grab your hair and you're going to pull that gel, not hard pull, but gently put it through your hair like this. And then you'll still have some in your hands. And if you don't, and you're not using enough, you should still have some in your hands, so start to put it through up here, okay? Once your hair is completely coated in it, you're then going to scrunch, and you're going to scrunch for quite some time. Scrunch, 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 scrunch. I mean, it's going to take a few minutes of scrunching. The more curls you want, I would suggest do the more scrunch. That's what I have found. Once that is done, you're going to wrap your hair in a t-shirt. You're not going to use a towel anymore on your hair because it's going to do damage to your hair. First of all, that motion of doing that, which to be fair, even if you did it with a t-shirt, it's not great, but if you do it with a towel, you're going to create frizz and flyaways and just damage your hair. Material on a towel is not great for hair. It will damage it. So use a nice t-shirt. It doesn't need to be anything posh. It can be an old one in the cupboard. Don't go out and buy any, unless you don't have one, of course. An old t-shirt, which I got this one. You're going to do something now called the plop. Not the nicest word, is it? You're going to do the plop. So lay your t-shirt down on a bed or a chair, whatever flat surface is nearby. You're going to turn your head upside down and you're going to plop your hair into the towel, okay? And lower your scalp right onto the towel. Make sure your hair's all together, and then you're just simply going to tie this around like you would, similar to, oh, hello, just knocked a bit off, similar to when you had, you know, your towel turban. And you're going to leave this on your head. You can leave it on your head for pretty much as long as you want, really. I'm not leaving it on for too long today because I've got to nip out. Some days I leave it on for 10-15 minutes. The other day I left it on for an hour. I did have better curls when I had left it in for longer because it just gives them time to set, okay? This is going to soak up a lot of the moisture. Your hair won't be dry when you take it out, but it will still be damp, but it will take away a lot of the excess moisture, okay? One thing I forgot to say is when you've put your curling gel in and you're scrunching, by all means, turn your head upside down and scrunch right up to your scalp before you do the plop in the t-shirt. Leave this in for however long you want. When you take it out, untwist, take it off, your curl should go, and you should be able to see curls or waves starting to form, okay? What to do then is put the t-shirt over your hand and just scrunch it out a little bit, okay? What will have happened is where you've got the curling gel in, it's going to form something called a cast over your hair. So each curl is going to feel, although it's going to be wet, damp, actually not wet, it will be damp. You're going to feel that it's a bit hard, a bit crispy, crunchy. You want to scrunch that out a little bit at this stage, but not completely, because if you do that, it's going to go pear-shaped, I would suggest. Scrunch it a little bit. At this point, you just want to encourage those curls, okay? Don't go nuts, just do it a little bit, and then you need to leave it. Leave it to dry out completely. Try not to fiddle, try not to touch, which is easier said than done. But go away. It's going to take a couple of hours probably. Obviously, the more hair you've got, the longer it's going to take. I've been going to work like that most mornings, and I used to be, well, I probably still am, someone that's very self-conscious about particularly going out with wet hair, and wet hair that don't look that great. But I have been doing it, and it's actually not been too bad. So just carry on about your day. Obviously, if you've got an important business meeting or, you know, you're going to an event, slightly tricky. So if you can't afford to go out with wet hair at this point, there is something you can use. Now, I mentioned heat and various implements. Is that the right word? Electrical devices. There we go. That's better. That you need to avoid. And generally speaking, you do need to avoid the hairdryer. However, if you get, oh, it's massive, one of these bad boys, pop it on the end of your hairdryer, diffuser, you can then use this still. You need to pop your hairdryer onto your coolest setting, it needs to be blowing out cold air, not hot air, which is not particularly nice. You can then use a diffuser, okay? It's still going to take a while, but it may just help you along, and it may help bring out your curls. Experiment with it. I tried the other day, and I'm not going to lie, it was a complete disaster. I'm going to try a little bit again today and see if I can stick it out and do a better job. But do that. So what to do is, it's hard to show you while my hair's up in a t-shirt. But you need to scoop chunks of your hair up like this, up to your scalp, and you just need to sit there with it like this, basically. Quite a while. It's quite boring. I'm not going to lie, it's really boring. But you can use that. That is not frowned upon. Otherwise, just leave it to go dry. When it's dry, you'll feel it, and it will feel a bit crispy and crunchy probably, because there should still be a bit of cast on there. So at that point, just use your hands, and what we're going to do is scrunch out the crunch. It's a nice saying. It's quite satisfying to do as well. Scrunch it out. It doesn't matter if there's a bit left in there and your hair feels slightly, overall it should feel softer. There'll be a little bit of cast in there, but that's okay. You know, don't panic. And really, it's all just about experimenting. I'm only a week in. I'm on day 7. Some days I don't really scrunch out as much of the cast as I probably should do, because I think, well, maybe it's helping holding my curls in place and helping it redefine. I have no idea. I could probably just made that up in my own head. I've had mixed results. I've had some days where my hair's been very straight at the top and then it falls into curls. Yesterday I just had a full head of curls going on. No idea what I'm going to get today. I'm going to do a part 2 for this in a minute. Well, not in a minute, but later today, maybe even this evening. So you can see where I'm at. This is going to take time and dedication. It can take weeks, sometimes months for your hair to figure itself out. If you are able to, go get yourself a haircut before you try this. If you've only had your haircut a few weeks before, then don't worry too much. But yeah, go get your hair cut. Get rid of all the dry ends, all the nastiness. Tell them what you're doing. And they should be able to do a cut which will help with the curls as they're growing out. I didn't do this. So like I said, I started a week ago. I'm due to get my hair cut in about 2 or 3 weeks. I've had that in the diary for ages and they couldn't fit me in any sooner. But I also didn't want to wait. So I've got started already, which is fine. That's fine to do as well. And I'm kind of figuring out when I go in, I'll have my hair as I'm doing it at the moment and they can actually see for themselves how it's going and what they need to do. So yeah, here we are, week 1. I probably rambled on too much. It probably wasn't very good. But hopefully that's maybe just helped you in terms of a routine and things that you should be using. And I will check back in later and I'll do it in a separate video, one where I'm wearing makeup and look slightly more human and hopefully my hair's okay-ish. Thanks for tuning in and hope you have a really good day.